Okay, we are back, hopefully for good this time. I have, well, it doesn't matter. Dell is with us, and there we are. Dell, what were we talking about?
I don't know. I kind of lost track.
I lost track. We've talked about a lot of things since we went off the air, but hopefully things will stay stable. Your blog this week I found particularly interesting, but perhaps I should simply recuse myself and go drink coffee and let you just tell the story. I read it with a great deal of interest. I don't know if anybody else found it interesting or not.
Well, I mean, I had to since you paid me that money. I figured I had to write something good about you.
It
So
was a slow news week, presume.
no, I figured you give your time and to all the other authors and platforms to people, and you volunteer your time. So I thought, why haven't I done the same thing? So to you, you've given me a lot of time, and so I thought about trying to, and obviously didn't do it justice, probably not, but just a little bit about PJNet and what you started from and where you are now. So I thought that was appropriate, probably long overdue, obviously, but
I thought it
wanted to
was a very
give Rosen.
generous gesture, and I'm so glad that you included Barbara, because people don't there, whether it's this or going to a football game or going to a theater, a live theater. There is so much happening behind the scenes that nobody
Right,
finds out about, and
right,
there's a lot happening behind the scenes, in publishing, and we talk about that here.
right,
But what I got out of the blog, aside from the ego boost and just warm fuzzy feeling,
right.
in general, without talking about PJNet specifically, folks, if you don't build relationships, you're going to struggle, and you're going to cheat yourself out of the rich experience that God has planned for us, because we have a relationship with Him. But we also, so that is a vertical dimension with God, but we also have the horizontal dimension. And there are, Dale, you're good. I think you would do well no matter what, but you're not doing it alone. And are you ready to talk about your new relationships on this new project you're starting yet? Is that? I mean, you've put social media post out there about it. Could we talk about
Yeah,
it?
yeah, we can. I think it's fair game. Obviously, we've posted some trial blogs, some trial podcasts. That what's called. We're just doing practice rounds right now, trying to get the kinks out, and some friends I've met on Twitter, Kevin Williams and Kia, and I will not pronounce his last name. It's
No, it's
probably
just
harder
Kia.
than
Just
mine.
Kia's fine. Yep.
So, they've come up with an idea to host a podcast called Positivity Plus, and it's all going to be about encouraging, and it's all going to be about inspiration and people's stories too. But we have some lofty goals and some lofty ideas. I think it's going to be fun. So, we're going to use some of my networking connections and a lot of Kevin is well connected. So is Kia, as he's a retired soccer player. So we're going to rely on those a little bit and have people in and talk about inspirational things and encouraging discussions, and always, have a Christian theme to it and a motivational theme. So we're excited about that. We're taking some classes. We're doing some interviewing now. We're just kind of trying to get the kinks out, and pretty soon we'll be putting music behind it and making it more enjoyable.
Dale, tell me if I've got it wrong.
Oh, I will.
All of a sudden, yeah, I can count on you. It seems to me that all of a sudden, PJNet included, because we're getting ready to launch.
Hmm.
Why all of a sudden the surge in new podcasts coming out? Is that, we just had a guest on in the previous segment that started a new podcast, and I see
Hmm.
several people starting
Yeah.
podcasts, and I kind of thought maybe it had to do with COVID-19, but I'm not sure that's it.
No, I think people are just starving for something that's positive and starving for something that's encouraging and inspirational, because there's so much negativity out there right now, and so much discouragement, and people are longing for that. And they are home a little bit more right now, so they are looking for something like that. And it's just the timing. I mean, you know how many podcasts there are out there? There's a gazillion of them. So you have to find a way to make yourself distinctive. You have to find a good way to market it. And that's what Kia's been doing the last several weeks. He's been taking some pretty rigorous courses that from a well-respected podcasting group, So he's going into this eyes wide open and with a lot of energy and with a lot of enthusiasm because, they've asked me to host him, which I'm very humbled by that. And I'm excited about that. But Kia's energy, you've talked to him. He's just a bundle of energy.
No, I listened
and
to
whatever he touches, whatever he touches really turns to gold, and I don't mean that in a monetary sense. It's just whatever he does it all out and he does it well. And Kevin's connections are outrageous. What he, the plethora of people that he comes into contact with. And when he puts out a tweet, it's retweeted 60, 70, 80 times. He has such a massive following. So I think we're a good combination because I'll just talk to people. I'll just interview them and I'll just talk to them. So I get the easy part. They have the hard part, but we're scheduled to launch around October-ish time frame. And there'll be weekly podcasts and they'll be regular. Some may be live, some will be taped, but we're really looking forward. I can do it right here from my home, and we're going to get that ball rolling. We had to send in a list of 25 guests we want to have, and Kevin did the same thing. Akia did the same thing, and so we're real excited about that.
Well, I know that EYF podcast, Exercise Your Faith, came on the radar. I could name several, and PJ Net is now starting to enter into it, and we're going to do things a little bit differently. You brought out something that I've reflected on, but it's kind of like YouTube. You go out there and you are in an ocean of competitors is one way to say it. That's really not it. There's a lot of people in this space. How do you hope, you've mentioned Kia's marketing, but what are some of the things that you're going to do or you anticipate doing to get yourself set apart? Is it going to be advertising or is it going to be the content?
I think it's going to be a combination of content. We are going to do a lot of marketing, and we're going to get listeners, and we know we can. I think we're going to try to get some pretty high profile people on. The people that some people may recognize the names, so that's always helpful, because who wants to tune in to listen to me? So they want to tune in to listen to somebody who's better well known than I am, and things like that. And so I entered into the writing industry, and there's a whole lot more authors out there than podcasters. So I think we're going to try to find our niche, and there's a niche for everybody. There's a niche for everything. You got to find it and you got to market at that. I mean, if it's a certain demo, then that's what you focus on. You don't try to go out and just tangle up everybody. You got a certain focus in your targets, go after those targets, and then expand it. And I think we're going to have a good plan for that.
I guess this has all come in good timing because you had, and I say that past tense, I'm not really meaning that it's fatal, but you had a formula of finding those sports figures that had a story to tell, and everything was going well. And then all of a sudden, it's like sports has been canceled. So
yeah, I'm not sure I want to talk to anybody right now because they're all taking knees right now. So I saw a lot of the baseball players doing that. So I think maybe my time trying to talk to professional athletes might be on hiatus for a little while, and I really don't want to talk to a lot of them right now. So, or be in that atmosphere. Not that I'm bitter or I'm just frustrated with them because I think they're betraying our country and I think they're betraying our liberty. If they want to protest something, by golly, that's fine. Don't do it when I tune in to watch a baseball game. I'm not tuning in to watch politics. I'm tuning in to watch a ball game. So these cowards, and I do call them cowards, need to get up off their knees and respect our nation and play the game, a game that they make millions of dollars for in a country that allows them to do that. So the least they can do is get off their scrawny little knees and stand up and pay honor to the country that allows them to do that. I have no respect for any athlete who does that. I don't care who they are.
Yeah, go.
That's
find
my rant.
any country in the world that would reward you so disproportionately for athletic skill, and it's really not athletic skill.
I don't want to hear one athlete say they're oppressed because they are not oppressed. I don't care if they
I'll trade
came
places
through it.
with them.
if they came through it, then by golly, they learned something. They learned how to persevere, and they learned how to fight through troubles, and then reap those rewards. So get up off your knees and shut your mouth and play ball.
Play ball. Well put. In the podcasting arena now, how long are you envisioning an episode lasting? You made that decision?
Yeah, 20 minutes to a half hour max.
Yeah,
a 20.
Yeah, that's kind of our goal. We a lot of times on the last one tend to go over because we can, but
Yeah.
I think after 20 minutes but there are programs out there that people are riveted to. Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh, that people seem to be riveted to for long periods of time. But I don't know what
Rush
it takes
can
to do
talk.
that.
Rush can talk for hours, and he's brilliant, and there's nobody comparable to him. Mark Levin, yeah, I'll sit down and watch his show for a good hour, and time flies because he does something, and Rush does something. Well, Rush doesn't have a lot of guests on. Mark will have a guest on, and he does something that I kind of teach in my classes. He will ask the question briefly, then he'll allow the person to answer the question without interrupting, without cutting them off, without doing things like that. And that's a lost art anymore. You ask the question and you shut your mouth and let them answer, and don't commentary.
Yeah, I can't stand these programs where people just start talking over each other, and it just. But I think it reminds me of professional wrestling. It went from an athletic competition to theater and entertainment, but wrestling. I remember Gordon Soley,
Yeah,
and things like that.
yeah.
When
It was always entertaining. Those guys are great athletes, and they're great actors. But there's no. It's not a athletic competition. It is all stage theatrics. But they're fantastic athletes to be able to do what they do. But I mean, to take a chair and whack it across somebody's head and not get arrested. I mean, those guys should be out rioting because they don't get arrested for breaking the law.
Do you remember Lex Luger?
Oh yeah.
What
I mean, we got the meat hog. Yeah. What you doing now?
He's a preacher.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. We got to meet Hulk Hogan one time out in New York City. But these guys are and guys and girls, I should say, are phenomenal athletes.
They are. They're in condition, unbelievable condition.
But professional wrestling is not a sport, I don't think.
Back when it started, I used to watch Championship Wrestling from Florida with Gordon Soley. And in an hour-long program, you'd see maybe, let's take the commercials out, you're down to 40 minutes. Out of the 40 minutes, you would probably see 30 minutes of wrestling. Mm-hmm. And maybe 10 minutes of. Now that is the other way around. I don't know. We chased a bunny there. The thing that appeals to me about podcasting, and if you would have had me give my opinion of this 6 months ago, it would have been filled with contempt. But here's what I have come to realize, and it came to me by way of being on someone else's podcast, is you can listen to that in your car even when you don't have Wi-Fi. As long as you've got any signal at all, you'll be able to listen to it. Where when I would try to listen to PJNet, the videos, it would start buffering and spooling and all that. So this is a very consumable thing that you can consume good, healthy content while you're doing other things. And I think that is compatible with most people's lifestyle.
Well, we're going to make it a lot of kind of like my blog. I mean, my blog comes out consistently at the same time every week. We're going to do the same thing with the podcast, so people will know when it's going to be out there, and they'll get used to it after several months. Mm-hmm. But again, we have to set ourselves apart as to why should they tune into my show when there's probably 13,000 other ones going on at the same time. So that's going to be a challenge and a good challenge. But I think we're going to find our niche, and we're going to have fun with it. And that's going to be the main thing. We're going to have fun with it. Exercise Your Face doing a great job too. We're going to support them. We'll have them on as a guest, and all these other folks that I've been guest on podcasts, and I really appreciate it. I've been on quite a bit of them, and so I'm starting to tell the difference of them and what sets them apart. And we're going to have a good message, good upbeat messages. We're going to find some good music to put behind it and things like that. So we're going to have fun with it. But the name is Positivity Plus, and that's going to be tough to say all the time.
Yeah, that's. It keeps coming out at the end, Yeah. And the thing that that I'm encouraged about is I think that bloggers and writers, people that do this, are beginning to enter this space. And this is a tough sermon to deliver to a dyed-in-the-wool writer, because writers are usually avid readers. And because they are avid readers, they think that everyone else is too. Here's the problem with blogs or any written material. And this is a game changer if you'll just think about it. In order to read anything, no matter how good it is, you have to stop everything else you're doing. Let me repeat that. Let this sink. If you are going to read anything, you have to stop everything else. And I think that is a serious headwind. Now, rewind 50 years. Remember, did you do this on Sunday afternoon in your family? The Sunday afternoon paper comes out. It's about that thick. And so I would take a section, Mom would take a section, Dad would take a section, we'd all do. And then we just kind of, and we would probably spend 2 hours reading the Sunday afternoon paper. So reading was more a part of our normal everyday life 50 years ago than it is today. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I don't, I don't read much. You listen to things, you watch things, but that's why audiobooks are starting to make a good run right now. Because people are going to listen to it instead of reading it. But reading is becoming a lost art. But there's still that whole bunch of people who prefer to hold that book in their hands, and they like that. So, and then you just did the thing with my blog today. You made it to where people can listen to it instead of reading it. And we got to try to get maybe Martina McBride to come on and like do those for me, or read my blogs for me, or something like that. Somebody with a nice, pretty voice. Or Nora Jones or somebody like that. So I think it would be a blast. You've got the
voice, but then the question becomes the time. And I think we're both learning that voiceover artists earn a pretty good wage.
Yeah, to sit home in your robe and talk into a microphone would be awesome.
So there's a lot of opportunity out there. But Del, thank you for tipping your hat. Or really a lot more than a hat tip. That was an effusive shout out for pjnet.tv on your own blog, and I know that a lot of people read that thing, and it's quite an honor. And I'm looking forward to your podcasting adventure. I think you've built, or you're part of. I think Kia built the team, but Kia's the marketing guy. Or the administrator guy, and Larry is the marketing guy, and you
Kevin,
are the Kevin, I'm sorry, is the you are the talent, and I think between you, that's a very well-rounded team that I will have a hard time competing with.
Well, we're not going to compete. We're just going to find our niche and try to slide into it. But yeah, he is just energizing, and he's when we have a call together, I mean, he has us all ready to go. He has us all ready to run through the wall. Yeah. And but yeah, so we're going to. No, he's about my age. Yeah.
Oh, really?
We're about the same age. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was 40 something. Huh?
No. So.
Oh, okay. Well. Yeah, he was 12 in 1977. I remember that. I could do the math, but I won't bore you with that.
But we appreciate PJNet and appreciate the way we've all connected. So I thought it's a past time for a thank you.
Well, there's been so many ups and downs, like tonight. Connection issues, and we are at the mercy of the internet, and we are live. If you record something and you have trouble uploading it, or it takes longer than normal, it just goes through. It just takes longer. But when that happens here, you lose the connection. So, folks, we are observing and we are responding. We are sensitive to the market issues out there. So podcasting is on its way in. And I think once it gets here, it will be here to stay. So if you are a writer, and you've already been told you need platform. How many? Let me ask you this, Del. You've gone to conventions. You've heard the same pitches I've heard. What I just said. You've got to get platform. How do you see? I don't think you're going after writers so much, but how do you see the average? I hate to use that word. The typical writer that's attending these conferences, and they say, "Go do a podcast." What have you learned thus far is involved with go and do a podcast?
it's a lot of it's a lot of work, but it's not hard work. It's a lot of crossing the T's and dotting the I's and things like that. It's not tedious work, but we have to know what we're doing, and it is a great way to build your platform or expand your platform. It's just another avenue, and I think it's going to be a great advantage because a lot of the podcasters I know, most of them are authors right now, and they're trying to find that extra oomph that they need to help propel them. So, I mean, I don't think we're doing it for selfish reasons. That's just one of the benefits of it, that you can expand your platform
Well, you have
into
to.
another different dimension, another different audience. That again, we're not going to go sell my books, but they may talk. It might come up, and it might trigger something. Hey, so he wrote a book. Okay, great. Well, let me check it out. So I think it's going to be a combination of everything. But one of my first conferences I went to, I was a guest on a podcast, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool. It was down in Florida, and then the more conferences I go to, they come up to me, "Hey, Dale, I have this podcast. You want to be a guest on it?" Well, sure. Yeah, here's another one. And I've probably done 30 podcasts. Yeah, I've probably been a guest on about 30 podcasts over the years. So I thought, you know what, I'd do my own.
Yeah.
And most of them are very good. I mean, these guys are good and they know what they're doing, but I've been on a few that I'm like scratching my head saying, you shouldn't be doing this. So I've kind of learned some of the good things and bad things. So I've learned what not to do with some of them. And I've thought, hey, I'm going to try this.
When you're doing a podcast, the prototypes, the scrimmages that you've already done, how do you do that? Do you script it out? What do you read it? Do you have a few bullet points, or do you just get in front of the microphone and just ramble?
When I do them, I do not have an outline. I probably need to have one. But we were instructed, the group that he is in with, he says, do a podcast. He says, do not edit it. We want raw material. So we can listen to it, we can judge it, and we can make recommendations to you later. So the couple of we've done so far have not been edited, and they've not been scripted. So I kind of like that. We had a couple of goofs, but that's going to happen. And you just keep going, and then you publish it. So later on, we're going to get into editing and how to edit good things in and bad things out. And I have that capability, but our first few are completely. I guess I could have been dishonest and like redone one, but we didn't do that. We just we did it. And then we published it. And Kia's like, I'm trying to learn. We did one with Kia the other day. His mic kept having this horrible noise, and he went ahead and published it. He said, I've got to get a new mic. So we're learning all the glitches to get rid of. So I think next week we're going to start doing some editing on them.
Okay. Well, and the nice thing about a podcast is it's not visual, so you literally can be in your robe or pajamas or whatever.
That's the plan.
But if in live broadcasting where you have video, you either have to be unscripted like this, but even when I'm doing something that's more scripted, I just gave this advice to somebody the other day. Take these are sticky notes. I have a big stack of them. And these are actually the super sticky Post-it notes, not the standard sticky, but and put your 5 bullet points that you're going to cover on there, and then affix it near the camera. And that way, when you look at your notes, you're looking at the camera.
Well, a couple of things we've learned that I like to do. I like to know up front what we're going to. I don't like to be scripted, but I kind of like to know what I'm going to be asked.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of them that have kind of thrown a curveball at me. And I didn't either know the question or I wasn't prepared for that question. It was kind of, one of them was really in depth, and I just faked it. So I don't like to be caught off guard. I want 4 or 5 questions to be sent to me first, and then go from there. So I'm learning that, and I'll do that. I said I may not send the question, but I may send the topic we're going to talk about.
Well, I've run across we'll invite a guest here, and especially if they have a publicist. Immediately the publicist is triangulating the path between us, and we're communicating through them, and they'll send me, here's some questions to ask. And I thought, whose show is this?
You're right. Yeah.
But they're trying to protect their client. And
I get it.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, but I think your advice is sound. I would advise, if you're going to do a podcast, be yourself. Don't try to be Rush Limbaugh or whoever, be who God created you. There's nothing wrong with what God created.
Yeah.
I know some people with some serious defects. Ben Shapiro would be the last person I would put on radio or any audible media. He does not have the voice for it. Yet but
he's got the following for it. Yeah.
He seems to be doing okay.
Yeah.
So
again, ours is going to be all about encouraging and uplifting and being upbeat and things like that. So I'm gonna have to work on that myself.
You've been doing it for some time, Dale. You'll do fine, and we look forward to it. Dale, sorry for all of the complications tonight, but we finally, after a reboot of the computer, seemed stable, and we'll look forward to.
Appreciate everybody sticking around too.
Yeah, it was tough, so appreciate it, Dale, and we'll see you about this time next week.
See ya. Thanks.
All right. Del Didway right here on pjnet.tv. Well, thank you all. Thank you for your patience and long suffering. I know that was tough. It was tough on this end too, but as I look in the chat room, everybody is pretty much still there. And I am very excited about some of the things that we are embarking on. To give you an idea, I am working pretty much around the clock to build a podcast platform of our own. I have evaluated many, and many of them are pretty much the same. Very little difference between them. None of them accomplish what I'm setting out to do. And what I'm setting out to do is two things that I think will make us different. One is the player itself is going to be geriatrically ergonomic. In other words, large buttons, large fonts, okay. And we're also going to aggregate content. So when you come to us, it won't just be a single voice you're going to hear. You will hear the one that you've chosen, but you will also have access to other Christian bloggers and or possibly podcasters. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to rebroadcast other people's podcasts. I had a long discussion today with Mac, I call him, John McDonald of Exercise Your Faith, who will be on later this week, I believe. And I expressed my concerns that if you take somebody else's podcast, even with their permission, there could be copyright issues on some music that they are using as an intro and an outro. So not sure we're not going to go there initially, but as we move forward, we may allow people to have an access to upload their own content, be a podcast platform like everybody else. But the copyright thing concerns me a little bit. So once again, if you weren't here earlier, I did touch base with JD. And JD is doing okay. He said it was a tune-up, not an overhaul. And he is recuperating and looks forward to getting back in the saddle. He used the words soon, or the word soon. So that's all good. All right, well, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. It's going to be a long night. If you would like to shake me and hear more, I'm here. Hit me up on Facebook or something like that. I'll be up until about 8 o'clock this morning. So if you want to talk, I'd love to hear from you. We're going to wind it up. The last thing I'm going to do is ask two questions. The first one would be, of course, what is the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And then number two would be, when was that? Folks, we are trying to make a difference. We're trying to move the needle. And if that's going to happen, we cannot allow ourselves to be satisfied with either answer.